So while the speakers are getting on stage, just want to say good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session, Policy for Innovation and Sustainability, Quick Win Quick Win Options. I hope I am the last thing standing in the way before your happy hour later today and your cocktails. By ways of introduction, my name is Adriano Pilla. I'm an Innovation Program Manager at Yeti Food, and I have the great honor to guide you through today's discussion. We are here with a brilliant panel representing experts, policy advisors, founders, program managers, etc., with the goal of talking about systemic barriers in the European food system, the role of policy, but also other ecosystem players, and the practical pathways and examples, more specifically, to go from theory to practice. So why don't we go ahead and jump straight with introductions, starting with you, Magda.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Magda Krakowiak. I was part of the EIT Health until very recently, but I've spent my last 12, 13 years essentially working on the crossroads of research and commercialization. So I'm here to provide a little bit of a more healthy angle to the conversations.
Fantastic. Thank you, Magda.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for being here. My name is Maria Hristova, and I'm part of Agriventures. I have spent a lot of years in the public administration and also the private sector as a lawyer, following a bit the negotiation procedures in the CAP, the Common Agriculture Policy. This is the largest piece of EU funding, but now I'm more into impact activities related to how to make innovation systems more connected. So I would be glad to share my perspectives on the topic.
Great. Thank you, Maria. Zagorka?
Hello, everyone. Thanks I'm so happy that I'm today here. Instead of my introduction, I wanted to share with you one piece of leaf to remember me for, because everybody can Google around my name and you can find that in the bio there is multidisciplinary expert of this and this and this and this, but in general I'm a workaholic that loves what I do. So I like being part of this ecosystem, and I'm very humbled to be here among all the experts. So having this leaf in your pocket, in your telephone, you will remember the quick win actions of the policy, that it doesn't have to be very boring, but needs to be very attractive.
Great. Thank you, Zagorka. Minerve?
Hi, my name is Minerve Vicente. I've been working on innovation for the past, I would say, over 20 years, spanning from corporate startups and as well ecosystem organizations. That means launching products on the market, setting strategies, but also building up teams, transforming teams, and growing startups, and also addressing key barriers towards scaling of startups. And right now I work for Food Valley, which is an ecosystem organization and working towards key barriers such as funding, regulatory, and talents for the ventures to be able to scale in an easier way.
Great. Thank you, Minerve. And lastly, but not least, Eric.
Yeah, so I'm Eric Piro. Thanks everybody for coming today. I'm an entrepreneur, which means that basically I see the beauty and potential in things that most people do not, and that I really, really am addicted to solving problems in that way. Now I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Kappa Biotech. We're a global food ingredient company based in Finland, focusing on functional mushrooms and functional ingredients that can help with functional beverage applications or different nutraceutical applications. And really happy to talk today about policy, and thanks for everyone for being here. It's maybe not the sexiest topic we have here at the event, but it's a really important one.
well, let's try to make it sexy, right? At least engaging. So maybe just to get us started, and if you guys want to jump in later, of course, feel free. Maybe in a few brief lines, what do you see as the most significant systemic barriers currently slowing agri-food innovation in Europe? Could be policy, could be collaboration, whatever path you want to take that question in, feel free. I see Eric, maybe you're...
I could kick it off. I mean, from my angle, like from the business side, we see, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of co-founders that I'm friends with. If we're going to innovate something new, we're going to try something new. We're going to go to the U.S. market first, right? We're not going to do it in Europe. And the reason that we're going to do it in the U.S. and this is so common. This isn't just something that some people do. Is that the food regulation in the U.S. market is so much more open for innovation or for new ideas, and the path to kind of regulatory approval is so much faster and doesn't cost as much, right? So there's a lot more in Europe, of course, going through this novel food process with EFSA now is even actually taking longer than it did before. So we're seeing this kind of increase of actually this regulation. So in one way we stifle new ideas this way actually pretty clearly.
I can continue on that.
Please do.
So, for me, there are two main challenges. And if we go back to the question, what we really want to achieve, we want new products, new services, innovative, which solve specific problems. And who is the driver of innovation to make this happen? The entrepreneurs, and sometimes the farmers. And what's happening, we have more than 3 years, approximately 4 years, for approval of a new product. Is this innovation? I mean, in Europe. And what we need to have the product, we have different policies. Some of the DGs are not speaking a lot. I mean, they don't know what the others are doing. And of course, I agree with the US, because when I was there, they just ask you, what is your idea? We will support you along the way, because we have the resources and the ecosystem. The other driver of innovation, which is comparing to the US very different, is the ecosystem. There is very strong. I mean, they want the products on the market faster. And speaking about funding, in Europe we have a big challenge, because as I mentioned, who is the driver of innovation? Entrepreneurs and farmers. Farmers are receiving support, income support, as part of the CIP, but it's needed because otherwise they will not continue to be farmers. Do they receive innovation support? A piece of it as part of the operational groups. Do the researchers receive funding? Yes. Is it something which leads to innovation on the market? No. So the question is, if we want to have innovative products and services, who is the driver? And do she or he receives the support along the way? And if we now currently we are speaking about simplification. If the EU is putting simplification, is this simplification downstream on national level? Because there are years and years of implementation of regulations and the directives, and now there is simplification which stays somewhere in the EU level, and it doesn't happen at national level. So when you start something in Europe, you're a bit confused where to go, which country to start something. So these are the two main things that
But I feel called in, let's say, because I think with the regulation comes also a certainty of the customer. That the product that he or she is buying, it may be innovative, it may be a good business, it might be even very tasty, but is it really serving us from this as a consumer? Because we are all not only investors, ecosystem builders and so on, but I think we do go and we are consumers every day. And let's say, being in the US as well, I mean, you spend a significant time actually trying to understand the labels and so on. So as a consumer, I actually appreciate the level of scrutiny that is being exercised on products. I do agree that things need to be simplified, but we cannot forget about the impact because we're not talking about any products. We are talking about food that people consume, that it has impact on us every day.
I would like to jump in here concerning the policy on the other side, consumers on the second side, and innovators, a third party. Sitting on one table with these all stakeholders is the best way to approach the needs for the one in need. In general, policymakers are visionized in the eyes of innovators as bureaucracy, and the other way around. Innovators think about policy as risk takers. So this is vice versa contradictory, but on the other side, it needs to be sit on one table. We are not talking about final consumer groups that need to provide healthy food on the tables or food on the plates, but in general, it's an adaptation between policymakers and the ones that are innovating, so they can know from both sides what is needed. In this direction, it takes to be quick actions. Regulation needs to be fulfilled, but what is the easiest way to fulfill it so the innovators can approach it? In any other direction, this is impossible to be managed, even in small systems, but also in big systems. Because if we don't have regulation, we will have a gray zone, we will have insecure food. And on the other side, if innovators do not have easy steps to provide a regulatory assessments, then they wouldn't innovate.
I think, Magda, you bring up a good point in the sense of, there's a reason why the European food system is so well trusted from a consumer perspective, right? From the food that we consume, at least compared to maybe other regions in the world. Maybe on that question, are there parts of the ecosystem where policy intervention should be strengthened, and where might have maybe diminishing returns, where we could consider maybe a lighter approach, similar to maybe the US, Singapore, etc.? There's an interesting dilemma there. I would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I think that there are some policies that have been set up, like in the UK, to drive their key challenge in terms of obesity, in terms of not good nutrition at schools. And they've just launched this year actually a good food cycle, which enables to go about those challenges. As well, they've got a local food strategy that also supports that, and I think that these are right actions to diminish salt, sugar, fats, but also to enable more fibers in the diet. And I think that that is absolutely a positive action that has been taken, and also that is effective, especially acting on the population themselves. Because I also believe that through the years we have lost a lot of knowledge, a lot of ancient wisdom knowledge. We used to know those kind of things, how to eat, etc. It was a knowledge, and now I think we went very much science-based, to be really honest. So I think that for me, that's a great example of, that the policy enables great action in terms of healthy diets.
In this direction, if I may step in, it's very good to have real action on the field in terms of making a tax credits, or reducing the tax or VAT for innovators that reduce the sugar content on the business sector, or decrease the amount of salt or fat acids. Nevertheless, every innovator, it could be done if, again, it sits on one table when policymakers could see the potential and return back of that potential for the long, sustainable and impactful reasons in any other way, it will be waste of money and time. There could be a possibility with these tax regulations or intensives in different directions from each ecosystem to provide initiatives, at least as a starting point in short term, so it could be seen the real effect of it. Because at the end, having a very science-based academia behind, it's good, but we live in era of 21st century. Why yesterday we've been told that novel food claims and etc. again have a huge struggle of the safety assessment. Then why don't we do a digitalization in that process? And then it could ease the way to the innovators so they can step forward.
I can just jump in and to ask to put the topic. Actually, I'm a bit concerned speaking about policy because now the new trend is security, but not food security. So I'm a bit. I'm having lots of questions. Will we forget about food? I mean, food and agriculture innovation should be something as a constant priority. And speaking about what I really like the example of UK because they are funding and looking for solutions of challenges. In our community, because we have we are developing a platform for different funding opportunities in agriculture and food, and when I see the development of our members, the startups, what I see is that as a very nice policy decision is opening horizon to entrepreneurs with the cascade funding support. This was a very good decision because this drives innovation faster in terms of access to funding opportunities for them. What should be done, I think, in terms of changing the policies, connecting the funding for the research with the people who need the research, and these are the entrepreneurs and the business. But currently, we are funding research, but entrepreneurs need this research and they don't have access to funding for this research. So yeah, this is from my side. I think that it's a good thing that we have to open a place for collaboration in Europe for supporting ecosystems and for supporting real traction of products, technologies and food. That's what I think.
I think that apart from, let's say, your question was about, let's say, policies that work. I think what I really like, and me not being from life sciences sector, but essentially working with the sector for a very long time, it was not really understood for me why we operate in such a silo. Right, so here we have a conversation about the food systems and the needs of the entrepreneurs and the farmers and the whole food chain and so on. On the life science part, there's a lot of talk about medicine and evidence based, and we all I think appreciate this as patients again and so on. But we are still talking about humans, right? So. I think what I like, and it's maybe not there are no policies in place for it, but what I like is that more and more we include climate in this conversation. So we talk about the planetary health, which is we are part of the entire ecosystem where one thing is not connected from the other. So if I would to have a wish for solutions or for things to progress and to actually impact the entire ecosystem is for people to actually have more conversations together. So for life sciences community to embrace the evidence that is coming from the food sector and embrace food as medicine, we see this, but I think we don't see this enough. And then for the food sector innovators, maybe also to listen to the arguments or understand how different chemicals or different innovations are actually impacting not only the bottom line, but also the people that are consuming those products.
I would like to add here a comment. We're talking about healthy lives through food. So meaning reformulation of the diets, reformulation of the recipes with healthier ingredients so we can get non-communicable diseases, decrease the number of non-communicable diseases, cardiovascular health. Increasing the sugar content is decreasing the taxation. So it could be an option for policymakers to get immediate actions for the ones for farmers using alternative proteins in the diet. Yes, everything should be not just quality food, it should be also nutritional and safety. But safety is the number one. Later on, I would like to share one example of the safetiness of the food concerning the food donation law that we've been talking lately and we've been in process of implementing in our country as an example. So we regulated a law for donation of food, which is packed. So surplus food could be donated in social vulnerable communities via NGOs, in mosques, in churches, and etc. But we didn't regulate the food and leftovers for catering services. Today's food is not regulated, and this one should be also safely to be donated and put on the table for the ones in need. So definitely it's a cross-linking of the discussion, but various stakeholders of different levels of the ecosystem.
We're calling back to an earlier point, and that tension between, enabling innovators and farmers to bring solutions to market faster, but still maintaining the level of safety and sustainability. But what does that look like in practice? What specific actions can different parts of the ecosystem take from the entrepreneurship perspective, from the collaboration perspective, and the policy perspective? Love to maybe change the conversation.
So I think if from an entrepreneurial side, what are we doing, right? We're making a product that we feel is some product market fit. Like customers are going to want it. Do we want to go to market with something that's not safe? No. Do we want to go to market with something that's hurting the environment? No. Do we want to? From a pure and simple standpoint, we're not going to be able to sell anything to anybody. There's nobody that's going to want to buy that. So the alignment on goal is exactly there, right? I mean, regulatory and entrepreneurship. What are we doing? We're looking at where's the trend right now, right? Where are people wanting to go? What are the most important things to focus on? We're just packaging those things up in different ways and kind of working in different groups. But effectively, the goal is exactly the same. So how do we take a process like, proving people are demanding, let's say healthier functional beverages, right? It's the number one trend in FMCG right now, functional bev. Okay, so people are demanding that beverages, before water was fine, now you want to have water with vitamins in it and water with functional claims and benefit. Okay, great. Okay, so from an entrepreneurial standpoint, let's do that, right? Why does it take 4 years with regulatory authorities to approve something to be used in a beverage application? It just in 100 ml size, it's okay, but then we go to a half liter size, and then it's somehow wrong. It's the same dose, so it feels like, how can that take 4 years? So I think where could we change that conversation? I think we have to start to realize that we all have the same goal, right? We all have the exact same interest. We all want to make something that's a really good product market fit. We want to make sure it's safe for customers, but how can we speed that up? Is it digitalization, like you were saying? Is it some sidetrack process? Maybe not everything is novel food. Maybe there's a couple different paths to go depending on what it is. But I think there has to be more discussions around this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can share as well in terms of collaboration examples. So we talk about, okay, we all want the same things, and for example, retailers, they want to have sustainable food on the market that is healthy, that is also driven by consumer demand. But also they are struggling to get those at a price point that the consumer is going to buy. So it's not only the entrepreneur having that challenge, making a product that is at a cost effective, but it's also the retailer wanting to actually put it on the shelf. And actually, we've seen that in the Netherlands that groups of retailers came together and said, well, why don't we create actually a fund to be able to do that? So that means it's a type of collaboration that is not pre-competitive, but actually it's a type of collaboration that is in the competitive stage. And that is also a shift. So how can you innovate as well in those collaboration stages? So not only from a product perspective, etc., but also innovation in ways of collaborating that actually brings new pathways.
Maybe playing devil's advocates for a second. If there's shared goals, shared incentives, we all want the same end goal. How come it hasn't happened yet? What are we missing there? Is it?
I think we're not missing anything. I mean, if we go back to the why are we have the same goals from a policy making perspective in terms of we want products to be safe. Do we want Europe to be competitive on the market? Is EFSA wanting to be competitive on the market?
I think here we are missing the main ingredient in this recipe, and that's the trust. Trust between both parties, which are crucial, between policy and innovation. Because as the very beginning, policymakers think of innovators as risk takers, and again, on the other way around, the innovators think of policymakers as bureaucracy. So finding a mutual discussion between these two parties can get a quick win options. It's not that we are both of the sides and both of the sides have the same common goal: to speed up and to have a safety in the policy that is bringing the food for the table.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is exactly right. I think if you don't have trust, you don't have dialogue, and if you don't have dialogue, there's no way any change is going to happen. So we've worked with consultation requests and EFSA novel food applications. We've done this, but we have to do it through a consulting company, right? So we have to hire a quite expensive organization that's not us to sort of advocate on our behalf, to have those policy discussions. Why can't we just all talk, right?
Yeah.
Why can't we all just sit down and go, hey, here's some, okay, we understand that we're not talking about structurally changing the whole thing, but here's a couple quick wins we could probably just get, we all could agree with, right? And I think, but you're right, if there's no trust, there's no discussion, and if there's no discussion, there's nothing that's going to get fixed.
But having the discussion, with all due respect, with all the consultancy companies that are on the market, I respect them all, they have to earn money for their businesses. But why don't EFSA and the other policy-making companies, policy-making stakeholders do not have open days? Open days for entrepreneurships, open days for innovators, to hear the voice of the ones in need, open days for the farmers. Let's see what is needed here, where we can speed up the process. This is the only way, and it's not costing. I brought these leaves today while walking on the way to the venue, because this is something as a resource free of charge, and it's a quick action for today's discussion. It's not something to be left aside or just walk it and take a process of making rules in 2 years to see the policy and innovation and their sustainability. But we need an open discussion, and especially for the one in need.
And talking about trust and discussion, I suppose in order to trust, you need to have metrics, right? Measurements. What metrics do we need for both policymakers and industry to make that a reality?
I would like to give one practical example, because at the end Europe wants to be competitive, wants to attract investments and new companies to be born in Europe. But in the end, there is a problem that should be solved. We need sustainable food products and new technologies on the market, and they should be adopted faster. I mean, and just one example, because my family has a farm, And due to the climate change, there are new diseases on the field. And there is no solution which is approved for these diseases. And it will take approximately 5 years to approve a new product. And then we are speaking about competitiveness. This is not the solution. I mean, we have to have more quicker reactions. And what I really think is that the ecosystem is very fragmented in silos. We have food, agriculture, climate, innovation policy, competitiveness policy. But at the end, often solutions are very much interconnected. So what I think is that on an ecosystem level, it should be worked harder to really have these interconnections between the topics, and if we want competitiveness, then what should we done? What we should do for having it?
So I'm going to be the optimist. And I think that we are living in a really, really interesting times. I think that innovation is speeding up. I think that it's going to be, we probably have heard it a million times already today, but AI is here to change a lot of things. And in this respect, I think that the world is getting smaller, but it's going to get smaller in like a physical dimension for us, because I think that one thing that pandemic showed is that how fragile this global thinking and now all the conflicts that we see erupting and unstable geopolitical situation is influencing people's choices and is influencing business decisions with regards to the value chains and so on of people. So as a consumer, I don't want to be buying strawberries flown half a planet to my supermarket. And I think that people will be turning more to local sources. So I think that it should be strengthening. So in the end, a lot of power here is in our own hands as consumers, in the management of companies, the food chains and so on that are providing those products. But I will be an optimist because it's now, as ever before, it is really, the situation is changing, and the situation sort of leaves the business no other option but to actually evaluate their business choices and to look at local sourcing, which is in turn going to be good for our farmers, and it's going to be very good for us as consumers as well.
Let's talk about AI, because I think that's 2025, right? We must almost at this point. Could it be a driver for sustainability in this case and healthier lives, or are there threats that we should be concerned about now as it stands?
Very, very short. I had a lecture about AI last month. I think yes, there is a lot of data, and continuing again about, opportunities and the positive side. Actually, the agriculture sector and the food sector is, I think, the mostly unexplored in terms of what better could be done in this in the management of data, and AI here can help to add value and to especially the connection with health. This is what I think.
So imagine that we do have all this data, and we have the computing power that allows us to actually make good food choices. Because I think that going back to food as medicine, the reason why the concept was not embraced, it was simply because of the very high variability of data, because food is a very personal thing, and this is something that, let's say, medicine or life sciences, they don't like, because you need to have a healthy body of evidence before you actually can act on something. But now with the computing power that no human could do before, I think that we're going to have solutions that will be allowing us for personalized nutrition, And also the industry, if the demand will be there, the industry will be providing innovations as well. So I think huge hopes, and I think that health sector is very much ripe for innovation with AI.
Yeah, and in that, I think that there's also a role to play in actually shaping the market. So I don't believe that the markets are not in our control. To some extent, they can be shapen, and I think that entrepreneurs have shown that they can help shifting the dynamics of the market. So personalized nutrition is definitely one that where the AI plays a big role, and also can support healthier lives. And in there, I think also from a collaboration standpoint, everything that is at the intersection of is always where there's great innovation happening, between health, between nutrition, but also that's where different actors also can play a role, like insurances, for example. What is the role of insurances in the space of agri-food? And how can they play also potentially a bigger role in that space?
This morning, I listened to the panel of the Farm Lab, which I congratulate, and it's a great opportunity for the future with AI using for the future of farming. It could be done in the same way in the policy making and innovation. Why don't we predict what could happen if this assessment is done like that? So again, if we would like to speed up concerning the team that we are talking about, if we would like to speed up the processes, why don't we provide AI and digitalization in the process where it's a bottleneck? And in this direction, those are the regulation policies. In terms of, totally agree with, in terms of, let's say, personalized nutrition, this is something to be congratulated for, because it speeds up the processes of non-communicable diseases, and we can act so we avoid those diseases or prevent disasters in the future.
We're unfortunately almost out of time. Maybe to summarize, if you could give one takeaway recommendations to innovators, policymakers, entrepreneurs, researchers here, what would it be?
I can start very quickly. My advice to anyone is to attend 1 or 2 events per year that are not related to your topic or your area of expertise, because you might be really surprised what you can learn. So just explore your weak links and don't stay in the bubble, but really go out there and learn about other fields, because we are all innovation people here. So I think it's one of the commitments that we can do.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, by the way. You never know. I go to these art exhibitions and you just get super inspired sometimes. And I think, my takeaway would be just try to really, as we've been talking about a little bit on the panel, is like find those areas of commonality, right? I think it's so easy to focus on the areas where we disagree, with many stakeholders at play, but find those areas where we are in agreement, and focus on those ones.
I would like to come back to my leaves, because today you will write so many things maybe in your notebooks, you will listen so many panels, but if you take away the leaf and go home, put it on the back of your laptop or in the phone case, and when you come home, think about what you can do as your own personality for the ecosystem. So I will, let's say, start from ourselves. Let's start with ourselves. What each and every one of us can make a change in terms of innovation, in terms of policy, so we could have a better structured ecosystem. We do not point the finger at someone. We need to be the ones to make an action.
Yeah, and that leads me to actually having courage and resilience. Courage in the beliefs that you have, going with the flow. That means as well what you just said, like, see where there is the same intent, and resilience, because it's not all that easy, but that's okay.
As a conclusion, very shortly, I think you never have to stop looking for opportunities, although at the first moment they could be not for you, or you cannot recognize them as opportunities. And if the question was for the policy, the relation to innovation, let's go back and to ask ourselves what we really want to achieve in Europe. And if we want to be competitive, then let's find the instruments and the path to achieve that.
Great. Thank you all. So that is all the time that we have for our discussion. Thank you very much for the panelists. We have time for maybe a few questions from the audience, if anyone is brave enough. Otherwise, we can wrap it up here. No? Great. Well, with that, thank you very much. Big round of applause for our speakers. And I hope you enjoy the last remaining hour or so of Next Bite. Thank you.